All right, so hi guys. My voice probably sounds very different. That's because it is still very weak from the convention. I'm actually recording this audio on the 3rd of September. I've been home for about 2 days now, and my voice is still just destroyed from not talking a lot, which might sound really weird. It might sound bad, but I want to get this out as soon as possible. I'm also currently editing the vlog too, so these will probably go up within the same week if all's hoping and YouTube doesn't mess with me. But I did a little last year. It was like an artist alley critique update video, and I'm still very proud of that. And I'm not gonna call it that. I'm gonna call this like a well, I don't know what I'm gonna call it right now, but it's pretty much just a recap of the con. I'm gonna talk about the con and the differences from last year, because there were a lot of differences this year than last year, and just my overall experience. And first of all, I would like to say I 100% recommend this con. I think it's a great con. I think it is wonderful. Yes, it was my first one last year, so I do have a bias there. But I do know people where a lot of their first cons are really, really, really big ones. And from what I've been told, this was a middle too big, not super big. So I think it was a good jumping off point. And especially because I was table sharing with my friend Holly Brown again. And if it wasn't for her, none of this would be possible, because it is easier for her to get the tables and everything because she understands Texas customs and law better than I do. And so we split table, and I paid for my extra badge, and on top of a lot of other things that we tried our best to split 50-50. And so there's that. Another thing too was I'm very glad I listened to Holly. I was originally very self-conscious about bringing a lot of stuff I had from last year because I had a lot of overstock. Because last year I was stupid. There's no good way to say it. I had a couple of people give me really bad advice, and they told me that it was better to have more stock than less stock. And I ended up going to the extreme, like I often do. And so I ended up sitting on a lot of merch. And I did make profit, so it's not like it was a loss in any way. But it was one of those things that when you're new and you invest a lot in something, your goal for profit is much, much higher than it would have been if I had gone small. So there's that. That's also why I I know there are others out there, but I trust Zap Creatives. They're not sponsoring me, never given me money. But I like about them is you can get small charm orders. You can get like batches of like 10, 25, or 50, and you can usually get multiple designs for those. So I usually like to shoot for the 50 because then you have about 10 or so charms of each design, and sometimes I'll even throw in extra charms just because they cut extra or it fit on the piece of acrylic. And so I always think that's good because some bulk places, unless you have a lot of artists to team up with to also sell merchandise, you're only getting a really, really good deal if you do it as a very large bulk order. I was talking to somebody who ended up, they said something along the lines, now I didn't write this down, the exact number, but they did say something like almost like 40 or 60 artists teamed up for a group order. And so the item that they were getting was like a dollar something each, but that's also 40 artists, 40 to 60 artists all buying bulk orders of things. That is in the thousands realistically, but each artist only paid a few dollars per bag. So it's one of those things you also have to keep into account when doing that kind of thing. So another thing you need to understand, and I need to say this isn't a poor me thing. I have to like clarify that because some people hear that and they're like, oh no, it's just my online shop. I do not get many orders on my online shop. So a lot of my merch does tend to sit here until I do conventions. I'm doing another convention in January. I'm doing Anime Impulse. They haven't given tables or anything because it's January and this is September. So I'll probably get an email right around like November-ish, or even probably like early December of what my table number is, and I'll do an update for that. But I bought more merch this year, and I also invested in other things. I was a part of the Steven Universe zine, as you know, and we are allowed to sell those at conventions. We're not allowed to sell those in online stores. So the only way to get them would be at conventions or at, or with the Kickstarter that went through. I also had sketchbooks that Holly made for me, and I paid her back for the equipment and the things used to make the sketchbook, so I still made a profit with that. I also had I had a lot of new charms made. I had my Splatoon charms. I had my potion charms. I had a Cleo one, and and my little sisters. But on top of that, I was originally self-conscious about selling merch I was selling last year. But if I hadn't, I probably would not have made a lot of money this year, because a lot of people at conventions, is another really big thing. A lot of people at conventions don't have a lot of money. A lot of people end up going to conventions and they end up where that was their biggest purchase. This isn't a critique. This is just something that people should know. There are people who go to cons who they save up and they have a lot of money to splurge. And, we always make the jokes about the like, oh my gosh, who can afford a $60 body pillow? Realistically, that's probably one of the few big things they got, and then they went for little things. That's another really good tip I could say, is do little things. I actually had a lot of people comment on my cheap stickers, because I don't do vinyl stickers, or I forget the technical term for the gloss ones, because there is a gloss one. And a lot of people, there were these two people that came up and they were like, finally some like affordable stickers. And I explained to them, I was very nice because they were artists as well. I'm like, well, vinyl costs more because it's weatherproof, and like sunproof in most cases. So, a random person looks at a sticker and is like, $5 for a sticker. Why would I get that? But if it's a vinyl sticker, then you can like slap it on your car. You can put it on your water bottle. You can do a lot with it. But for me, I make my stickers off of sticker paper and I use my own cutter. And so I end up cutting them out myself. In fact, I did that like 2 days before I had to get on my plane. I spent like 3 hours using my, before people ask, and people do, I use the Brothers Scan and Cut 2. I could make a tutorial in the future for what I do. But again, because it's on cheap sticker paper and I can get multiple designs on a piece of paper, I can afford to sell my stickers for $1. But I tell people, these aren't weatherproof, they're not vinyl. These are the stickers that you put on notebooks, you put on your sketchbook, you could put it on your car if you really wanted to, or whatever you want, but it's a lot like buttons. They kind of have a one-use purpose and they're supposed to be cheap. But with vinyl, they are very strong, they don't fade, they do this and that. And some people will argue like, oh, well, I've had vinyl and, they wore off and and it's like, well, then you have to look at the quality of the vinyl. Another thing too is a lot of artists offset their items. I was looking into it because eventually I will move to vinyl. But again, it's one of those things where I have to warrant the price. That's a big, big thing I want people to understand. A lot of people think that like, okay, you need really good quality to have a really good price. And that is very true. But like I said earlier, a lot of people don't have a lot of money at these things. A lot of people like buttons, stickers, little things, deals. Realistically, Holly and I didn't really sell prints until we did a deal where the average, usually from what I've seen for 11 by 17 prints, are right around $15 to $20, depending on the type of print and the type of paper and everything. And so a person came up and was like, oh, is there a deal on the prints? And we had to think about it. We're like, you know what, fine, a 2 for $25. It's a $5 loss. But the second we did that, we were selling more prints. We both ended up selling out of a specific print. Ironically enough, it was not the print that either of us thought would sell out. So we were both kind of sitting here with an excess stock of prints, which again is good because that also means in Anime Impulse, I'm going to have a lot more prints. And now I know what to order more of next time. A big thing about conventions is it is a very much a learning curve, which is why I also recommend when you're starting out, do a lot of cheap stuff. you would rather lose out on a 10-cent button, and by that I mean like it's 10 cents to make it, than a like $5 to $10 charm or a $5 to $10 book, because a lot of books also cost a lot of money to get made. My zines cost a lot of money to get made. On top of the Kickstarter, even though I was in it, I had to pay for those books. They were not given to me. So realistically, the profit I made off of the books is not as well. It's a gray area. But I made a decent profit. I didn't make a banging profit, if you understand what I'm saying here. Because with things like that, it's one of those things where you have to order in bulk. I'm very lucky those zines sold out, because now I do have enough for Anime Impulse, and I'm pretty sure once I'm sell out, and that's the thing. And then once I sell out of that, it's gone forever. I can't get another one, It's not like sketchbooks. It's not like things that I can easily reprint. And so that's another really important thing there. And I'm already, this video is going to be really long because I have hardly covered over the trip. I've just been talking about stuff, but it's a little bit of a, I guess that'll be my very long preface, whatever you want to call it, on just the basic merch side of it. So let's just get started before I go on more about that. And if you guys are more interested, I'll do like a more singled, in-depth video on the things I've learned from conventions, merch, online stores. I do not consider myself a professional because I am still very much a newbie at it, but I do believe I've been doing it for, at this point, this will be my 2.5 year having an online store, doing things like that on top of everything else. So while I'm not a professional, as in I've been doing it for a very, very long time, and I make my living off of my online store and cons, I have made enough to do things, and I've done more than one, so I can, talk about my experience. So let's just do the recap. Oh, Jesus, it's already getting so hot. I had to turn my AC off to do this audio because my voice is, destroyed. So first thing was when I got to the con. Now, this year, I wanted to get there on time and relax a bit, because last year I had thought I'd come in a day early. I didn't. I came in on the setup day. San Japan and a lot of other cons do this, where they have a badge pickup and or setup day. Those are where the con doesn't really start. You wait in a line, you get your stuff, and you go. For AX, I've talked about this. It was day 0. And so, I remember being like, so I flew out, and that was a hassle in itself. And I ended up getting to San Antonio at about 5 p.m. Holly picked me up from the airport, went to the hotel. We had a blast. We ended up going to Chili's, and we had fun. And then, we checked in, passed out. And then the next day we went and we picked up our badges. We went back to the hotel. We got our stuff. We set up our table. And then we just kind of messed around for the day because none of our other friends were there. So we ended up hanging out. I ended up teaching Holly how to play Magic the Gathering in our hotel room, because she's never played and I am a nerd, and we needed something to cut the time. Another thing we had to do, which we actually did early on day 1, was that we ended up going to the bank and we ended up pulling money out, because this is another really good tip. That's another thing I've seen some people do, is when they go to a con, when they don't know, and because I didn't know this right away, but I had a friend tell me, when you go to a con, you need to have at least, and this is going to sound like sketchy, I would say at least $50 to $100 worth of 5s and 1s in your cash box or possession at just the start to break change. And, the reason for that is because a lot of people do bring really big bills. And this year, we're lucky we didn't get it. But last year, we ended up having a lot of people at the early parts of the con who would buy something very small from us and then ask us to break 100. And that also happens a lot. That happens a lot to other people. So, because a lot of the normies, they don't know. They don't know any better. They're like, oh, these people can break it. And so it's better to be safe than sorry. Obviously, you don't want to announce how much money you're just carrying in your cash box at a time. That could end up being very bad and very stupid. So that's why I say shoot for around 50 to 100, depending on how many little things you offer. Because there are a lot of artists who they only have a small number of big things, as in prints, books, originals, and then they have a lot of cheap things, stickers, buttons, pin. Well, enamel pins aren't cheap, but like I meant like normal, like the little circular pins kind of things. So, doing that is also really important. So that way you can break it. Because that was one thing. I also ended up breaking a lot of 5s, 20s, and things like that because I had a lot of cheap stuff. So that's another good thing of advice. So I keep saying so. Turn it into a drinking game. But we ended up getting out, and I got to see an HEB for the first time because we don't have HEB in California. Or if we do, I've never seen it. And so it was a very swanky HEB. But we ended up setting up. Everything went great. We ended up Uber Eatsing McDonald's that night, I think. It was McDonald's or Subway, because we were hungry and tired and didn't want to drive somewhere. And then, I totally forgot. Before that, before we got the badges, we had to get some things for the table. We had to get some tape, and we had to get some other items. So we went to Chipotle, and the Chipotle made Holly and I both die that night. We ended up having food poisoning from it. We originally thought it was the Denny's, because we went to Denny's for dinner. But that is another thing. If you do not live close by, which neither of us did, you're going to have to also budget for eating out a lot. The entire time I was there, we ate out the entire time because there was no real way around it. That's why a lot of people like doing local cons, because they don't have to cut into a hotel cost and going out cost. If you live an hour to 30 minutes away from a con and you're willing to drive, you can easily pack sandwiches, food, snacks, wait till you get home kind of thing, and that will save a bunch on your budget. But in most cases you can't do that. So that part sucked though. The food poisoning wasn't fun, so we ended up only getting maybe 2 hours of sleep the day before before day one. But we got everything set, we got the money, we were good to go. We just shoved coffee into our blood, and then we ended up going and setting everything up. Everything was good. I was very happy. I got to see my friend Lana, who I'll slap a picture of her on screen. She was one of my bridesmaids, and she recently had to move back to Texas this year, which made me very sad. But, life happens, and nothing can be perfect usually. And so we ended up having a really good time, and I ended up making a lot more than I did last year. I didn't make what's the proper word? It's not profit yet. I didn't make my budget. I'll just go with that. I didn't make my budget yet. But I had done a lot better than last year. Another thing too was and it kind of sucks, I had to change my prices on a couple things because they just did not get touched on the first day at all. And that's something else I recommend. Again, since I don't do a lot of cons, I needed to make sure that I had profit, especially because I fly out and I have a lot of other traveling costs that not everybody does. So people who do conventions a lot and or their online store sells like hotcakes, it is very different. You obviously don't have to move on prices, but if you only do 1 to 2 cons a year, you might have to do that. And I know some people have argued with like, well, you don't have to do that. And you're right. No one's going to tie your hand behind your back and say, lower your prices. It's not right. But they will be like, okay, do you want to make your table back? Or are you just going to bite the bullet? And I'm in a place right now where I couldn't afford to bite the bullet. So I lowered my prices a little bit. And that is also normal. Like I said, look at it. If you're selling of something but not a lot, then it's still fine. But if you're having people look at it, look interested, see the price, and walk away, and then by the end of the day you haven't sold a single thing of one item, which is what happened to me, that is a call that, okay, something is wrong here, and it is clearly not the people, it is me. And so I lowered my prices a bit. Like I said, we added that deal to our prints. And then the next day, another thing some people might be like, oh, so I got ripped off? No, again, I only moved the price on stuff that didn't sell. So that way it was like, I didn't feel bad for someone who did buy a thing. If someone bought a print for $20 on the first day of a 3-day con, and then on the next day they saw it was down to $10, I know myself as a consumer, I would have been pissed, and I don't like doing that. I like following the value. It's the same with my commissions on my artwork. Would I buy this? Would I do this? Is this something I would purchase? And if the answer is yes, then that's what I go for. obviously everyone wants to make money. That's never an issue here. But you need to look. And again, if you're doing a lot of cons where it's like, well, the con I did last weekend, I made bank. And so if I flop this weekend, it's still not going to hurt. See, that's very different. Then you don't have to move. But again, not everybody is in that situation. So I moved my prices a bit, and the second day, I also ended up taking commissions. I wasn't originally, but there was a lot of lull time this year. While last year, it seems like Holly and I had the opposite, where we were taking commissions and we had no lull time. So we would draw, look up, draw, look up, draw, talk, and so we wouldn't get them all done. I only got one commission done because I only got one order, which isn't bad because originally I didn't want to take commissions. I wanted to just focus on the con. But that helped a lot. Thank you for your fun Mothman that I got to draw. I couldn't think of a pose, and so one of our other artist table buddies on the other table said to draw him dabbing, and so I did. But yeah, I sold a lot of charms. I sold a lot of buttons. I completely sold out. That was when I completely sold out of one of my prints. And I was very proud of it because it was one of my original prints. It wasn't a fan art print. And not that there's anything wrong with fan art. I like doing fan art, and I like doing fan art for things I like. But I also really liked that a lot of people were commenting on things. I actually sold quite a few of my little sister charms because a bunch of people were like, oh, that's Bioshock. And I myself, as a Bioshock nerd, I remember it would always suck to never see merch of it. And I even saw a little sister who bought the little sister charm. And it was just a nice little, like, cool thing for me. I liked it a lot. That made me very happy. Sorry if I'm gushing a lot, but I'm happy. And if I'm happy, I'm going to talk about it. So I also ended up talking a lot, hence why my voice is gone. And it's funny because my friends are like, you talk all the time. And I'm like, yeah, but that's when I see my friends, and I don't go out like every single day of the week and see my friends all the time. Realistically, I see my friends maybe like once every 2 weeks or so. And Cody works a lot and I work a lot. So half the time I'm at home by myself with my cat just working on art. So there's no one to really talk to. And it's always like, oh yeah, I talk a lot. And then I do a con for a weekend and I'm like, voice, where'd you go? I originally thought I was sick last year, but then I realized, no, it's just strain because I'm talking constantly. That's another thing too. The convention is nearly a 12-hour workday for artists. By that I mean because you can get in at 8 while the normies get in at 10. And the artist alley normally doesn't close until 8 p.m. So it's an 8 to 8 day if you get there at opening. But you don't have to. I mean, I know on the last day, Holly and I walked in at 10 and it was fine. But after day one, Holly and I, we just chilled because none of our friends were there. And then we ended up going back to the hotel, passing the fuck out, relaxing, yada yada. And then day two, I forgot to mention though about day one. Man, I don't know if Zodiac Works can talk about it, but he had a terrible thing happen with his traveling situation, and we all felt so bad, but he got there, so that's all that mattered. But our group chat was like blowing the heck up because of everything that was happening with that. So then day two rolled around. I finished the commission because I literally got that commission, the Mothman commission, at like the dead end of day one. And so I was like, eh. So I did it on the first day. On day two. Let's see, I'm already all over the place. My paper ASMR is ending me. But I ended up making my table cost and all my travel fees back that day. And so I completely sold out of my zine and my Pumpkaboo sketchbooks. I had two designs. I had an original for the wood sketchbooks, and I had the Pumpkaboo. And I was very happy that those sold out because I was getting a little sad. I was like, I guess people don't really like them because I would keep getting things of like, oh, do you have other designs than this? And obviously they didn't mean anything by it. But as an artist, when you're really proud of something and then somebody's like, oh, this is neat, but do you have it in something else? It does hurt. It's not supposed to, and they don't mean anything by it. It does suck, though. But I did have a lot of people who did like it and did buy it. So, there's always that. And those are things you're also going to have to go along with. It's like a critique, As long as it's a constructive critique, it's good. A negative critique is like, this uggo. It's like, thanks, how do I fix? It's uggo. I don't know how I'm supposed to do that. So, anyway, Morgan and Quan kept showing up. They were actually really cute together. They both dressed up as Hogwarts kids. Morgan was Newt Scamander and Quan was a Ravenclaw, and they just dicked around and had fun. And I think they bought some things. I'm not quite sure because we couldn't do much until we ended up back together. So con went great. Sales went great. Everything was good. Holly completely sold out of her wood sketchbooks, her charms, and most of her physical stuff except for the prints that day. And so then at the end of day two, what ended up happening was we all went to Chili's again and we had a blast. We were laughing so hard. We were probably so annoying. We were probably so annoying in that goddamn Chili's. I ended up drinking. I am an adult. Hi, how are you? I'm 26, turning 27 this year. So I can drink, and I wasn't driving. So I didn't get drunk either. I had two, and even I was like, okay, cut me off. I don't like being stupid drunk. I like getting like just that borderline if I can afford it again because drinks is expensive. So another thing too was I ended up trading a gift card from my friend Lana because we found out. Oh, another good thing. If you have an iPhone and you have the Square reader, it will not take Visa gift cards. A lot of people had Visa gift cards. It only takes chip. So my friend came and she had a $50 Visa gift card. And so what ended up happening was because I knew her personally, I was like, "You want to just give me the card and I gave you $50 cash?" And she was like, "Would you do that?" I was like, "Yeah." So just did that. And then she bought something from me. So I got some cash back. Well, she actually bought two things from me. And what am I saying? And so that was always fun. And so I used the gift card when we went out. And then we went back to Morgan and Maddie's hotel room, or Morgan and Quan. Sorry, they're my friends, so I call them by their real names. So the Zodiac Lord and Quantalos' apartment, room, not apartment. Her. We went back. We ended up talking. We ended up playing Mario Party on Morgan's on his Switch. We tried getting it to hook up to the TV. I just did not want to hook up. So all four of us were just cuddled around like the tiny Switch on pillows playing Mario Party. Holiday kicked our asses. We were laughing our asses off. A police officer came and told us to shut the fuck up. And it was great, friends having fun. And so then we just started talking about stuff and hanging out and doing friend junk. And again, it was another night where Holly and I got no sleep for the con. And so then was day 3, which was the final day. And let me skip to my final day. So the final day was pretty much an entire profit day for me because I hit everything yesterday on day 2. So I ended up doing a sale because I also did not want to hit weight on my suitcase because that happened flying out. If you follow me on Twitter, I talked about it. By the way, all my social medias are in my link tree link down below. Click that, a little thing will pop up where it's a little button press thing to where you can follow me and find it. But I was so angry flying in because I was 7 pounds over the weight limit and they wouldn't let me switch it around to my carry-on. So I ended up paying nearly $120 to just get my suitcase on the goddamn plane, which was very irritating, and there was nothing I could do because it was not take my suitcase full of all of my merchandise that I needed to sell or, just die. So I ended up paying the fee and it sucked and I didn't want that to happen again. So I ended up doing another sale where I was like, okay, all of the overstock from last year, because like I said, I brought the stuff from last year. I was like, all of my stickers and all my buttons are buy one, get one free now, because I just, something else I totally forgot to bring up that's very important is, oh my God, are you guys amazing. You're all so amazing. The people who came to visit me, I took pictures with a couple people, I talked to a couple people, I hugged a couple people. You guys really did make it for me. It really made me flattered. I'm so sorry my voice was going out, but I also had someone who was so sweet, and I can't remember their full username. I know it was Neko something. It's on my Twitter, but they came by and they bought a button from me, which was $1.50 button, and they said they heard about what happened to me about the airport, and I was talking about it, and I was fully willing to eat those costs, and they gave me and Holly a $100 tip because of it. They bought a $1 thing and gave me a $100 tip, and I was literally so shocked by it. I could not believe it. And I was just so surprised by everybody's kindness. That was another thing. We got a lot of tips. With my Square Reader, a lot of people paid tips for really cheap things, which was things that I was not expecting or intending. And it was so great just to see how supportive people are of artists. I also did not have as many jerks this year. Last year, I had a lot of jerk people, a lot of condescending people come to our table, to the point where I remember this so distinctly because it made me so mad. Was this person came up to our table, looked at my charms because at the time I didn't have double-sided charms because I couldn't afford double-sided charms, and they like flipped over my charms and then they were like, you know that they come double-sided now, right? And I was like, yes, sir. I know that I couldn't afford it, and just kind of scoffed and walked away. And I'd have people ripping off my charms and my display, and I was fixing it more times than it was up. I had nobody saying they were sorry. I would have people bump into my table. I would have this and that happen, and it was very, very upsetting just to see how, how uncaring a lot of people are. But then this year it was the exact opposite this year. So many nice people, so many polite people. I did though on the last day, and I do have to bring this up because this is very upsetting. I did have a theft. It wasn't an expensive loss. It was just the purpose of it. So, and I don't know who this person was, so I'm gonna describe them because I don't think they deserve not animosity. I don't think they deserve to be anonymous because I think this is a terrible thing to do. So one thing was we saw there were a lot more kids this year that were like genuinely interested in things, and that was a nice touch. I like seeing when parents are very supportive and their kids want to be there. It's different than like the parents and they just drag their kid along. A lot of the kids were interested. I saw a lot of kid cosplayers that like it was clearly their cosplay and they had fun. But on the last day, I had this mom come up and she had a 5-year-old daughter that was like touching all our stuff, but she wasn't touching it in the like I'm gonna be an annoying person way. It was like, oh cool, I want to touch it because I'm a kid and I want to look at it kind of way. And then the mom pulled off one of my Pikachu charms. And my Pikachu charms were one of my rare double-sided ones. I'm doing double-sided now. But a lot of my old stock obviously wasn't. And like I said, I have a lot of it. So there's not really much I can do. And I'm trying to waste less this year. So even though, yes, I paid for them, I'm not going to just throw them away because they're single-sided. I just sell them for cheaper. But Mom asked me how much it was. I said it was $8 because they're really tiny. And she put it back and she was like, okay. And the daughter was looking at things and the daughter was asking me questions and, playing with things. And I was like talking to the daughter and I was like, and then the mom was like, okay, honey, let's go. Now my friends, Vexingly Yours and Audrey Scribbles I believe Audrey Scribbles was there when this happened. If not, they came shortly after, but we were talking and then it hit me like as the mom walked away and I'm like, I wonder. And I leaned over and I looked and the Pikachu charm, the same one that she gave me to ask the price of and finger quote put back, it was gone. It was gone. I had no one else come to my table. And I just kind of sat there and I was like, I just got robbed. Now, as I recall, if I didn't talk about this last year, I did get robbed last year, but it was for a 10-cent button. Yes, I was selling them for $1, but they were tiny. I don't make my buttons that small anymore. But it was, the difference though between this was early to like midday of day 3 to where the theft last year was one, it was clearly done by a child. We were actually putting things away. So my little button thing was still out. And I saw this like, I don't know, anywhere between like 5 and 8-year-old girl, like kind of just like reach her hand in, swipe it and then walk away. And I was kind of like, okay, we're packing up anyway. And at that point, I had to get my flight because my flight was on the same day as the last day. So it was like, all right, fine, I'll take the 10-cent loss. I had already made profit at that day, so it didn't matter. For what bothered me about this instance was that this was very clearly a hustle. This was this mother, this purple-haired mother and her daughter. And I'm bringing up purpled hair because she had purple hair. I dyed it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying, unless this lady redyes her hair, be very careful of a mother with a short purple haircut and a very cute, innocent-looking blonde-haired daughter between the ages of 5 and 6-ish. you know, being very sweet, talkative, asking for the price of something. And it's also why some people will be like, why didn't you have your stuff tied down, taped down? Again, this isn't, all of my display stuff was Holly's, and Holly doesn't really do charms, so there wasn't a big deal with it. Since I am doing my own solo con this in January, I'm going to be buying that, and I'm going to be taking better cautions that I've seen other people do. But it's because of that that bothers me. This was very clearly a mom teaching her daughter how to steal, how to hustle, because this was calculated. It was the daughter comes up, acts really cute. The mom sees if she can pick something off or pick something up to give it to the artist to ask the question. You give it back thinking they're going to, and then you act like you put it back. And then the daughter distracts you because Holly was also distracted with something else. And again, I had other artists and other people around me that was when this happened. And then then you just, once you've swiped the item and no one saw, you just tap your kid and you're like, okay, we're going to move on. Have a nice day. That is very clearly, you are teaching your daughter to be a thief, and that is terrible. That is what I am more mad about than actually having an object stolen. If you're new here, hi, I like kids. I don't like bad parents. And that is a terrible thing to be teaching your kid, because that is a hustle. That is also why a lot of artists and people complain that we can't just have stuff at our booth. We have to take that extra few minutes to get it for you because of things like this. So, am I angry I got stolen from? Yes, but I'm more angry that it was a grown-ass woman teaching her child to do this scam. So, any artists out there, spread the word for this little duo. And who knows, maybe the mom will dye her hair by then or grow it out. But... And again, I actually had also another thing on this. I had a couple people tell me, like, complain to security. It was the last day for a charm. I also kind of had something serious happen to me last year. And we told the real security after that I really don't want to talk about it. But all they could tell me was, if you see them, tell us, and we'll try to find them. And there really wasn't much I could do, so it just kind of, was gone. And that's a shitty thing, but that's just a fact. So that's another thing there. Another thing I saw a lot of artists having to do, which to me clearly said that they've been stolen too, was when we were just walking around looking at things after setup day, there were a lot of people who, instead of having their merch out for people to see, they would have little, like, catalogs. And they had a lot of merch too. So it wasn't like they would have a few things. Like, there was this one charm artist, I would have to say at least had 100 charms. And they had this little catalog, and Holly and I were looking at all of them. And I was like, are these stickers? What are they? Like, oh, they're charms. So you clearly have to be like, I want number A26. And the artist would have to go through and get you that charm for it to happen. So that's just a little, that's also a thing that you're seeing more and more, is artists having to go this extra mile because of things like this. So that was kind of a negative, but I also had a lot more positives. Okay. A lot more positives. Like I said, this was a pure profit day for me, which I was very grateful for, and ended up being where I got to hang out with Audrey Scribbles again, got to hang out with Vexy. Audrey drew me this amazing picture of Dot, which is my, my D&D homebrew, roleplay character that I do my show, with the Zodiac Lord, and Quantablos, and my husband, and a few other, and Kasu Requiem, and, Grace, I can't remember your username, and then Grace. Sorry, Grace. But we do it on the Zodiac Lord's channel. We try to do it every weekend. Obviously, we couldn't this weekend because we were working, but that's a cool little nifty thing for you guys if you want to check that out. We already have 4 episodes up, I believe, but it was really cool seeing that, and then seeing people using the hashtag for that, so that was fun. Oh, another thing I totally forgot. I actually signed a few things, which was a surprise. I had this very sweet girl come up to my table on, I believe, day 1. It could have been day 2. I completely forgot because I didn't get her name, but she came up with the zine we sold last year, and she was like, can you sign the art that you did in it? And I was like, oh, sure. And I signed it, and I don't even think she bought anything. She just wanted me to sign the art that she got from me last year. And that was very flattering. That made me really, really happy that she also kept it in such good condition. I also had a person come by and they were wearing my merch from last year, my buttons and my charms, and they were like, "Hey, I want to get another white diamond thing," and I was like, "Oh, sure." And I was, it's a nice thing for me. I was so happy to see that like my merch held up with a year, because they clearly had it on something that was like a daily use thing. It wasn't like a, this is on a wall. Like the guy had it on his keys, another person clearly had it on a fanny pack. They took other places. Someone had it on a phone, and I was like, "Oh, this is so cool." It's like, it shows me that like it is really good quality, because they do stand the test of being used, which is something else I look for when I buy merch. But that was really fun. I also had someone come through, and they asked me to sign like a few things actually, and then they bought more things from me, and it was really flattering. And then I guess I did sell one of my collab white diamond prints, and they wanted me to sign it, and that was also fun. It was weird. I'd never really signed anything before, so it was like weird, but a good weird. It was a good kind of weird. Sorry if I was awkward at all, guys, for you guys who met me, but it was an honor to meet you guys. But anyway, yeah. So everything was good. We did tear down. Everything was great. We didn't do the art drop this year, or they didn't have one. I'm not sure, but we ended up packing up. We ended up leaving. Went back to the hotel. We all like freshened up, and then, doot, we obviously you'll see these through the vlogs. I tried vlogging a few bits here and there, but I couldn't vlog the entire thing because I was enjoying my life. And the vlog will be on this channel, not my vlog channel, but just because I want, more people want to see those kind of things, and not a lot of people watch the vlog channel. And I also want to share because it's con going, and I like doing cons and art stuff, and it's not just my daily life. Anyway, I'm rambling. So, we ended up going to a steakhouse, which was really fun. And I got hustled. I got hustled at the steakhouse, but it was Morgan's birthday, and we were there for his birthday, and so I got him a photo, and I paid for his dinner and Holly's dinner, and obviously my dinner. Quan, I got you next year. Boo. Smetches. But ended up having a really good meal. And then we went to an escape room. I've never done one. It was so much fun. It was with a big group of people because we couldn't get like a singular escape room, but that was fun too. We had a blast. I've never done one before, but I definitely want to do one again. I know Cody really wants to do one from how I talked about it. We went and we got ice cream. We hung out. And then we went back to the hotel and we watched dodgeball and just talked. And we laughed and we rambled. We didn't get the cops called on us for a noise complaint this time, though. So we learned from last time. We also ate a bunch of cookie cake because we're all fat bitches. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And then the next day, obviously, we had to wake up bright ass early. And we got to, and we packed up, we got coffee, I think. Did we get coffee? No, I got a tea, because my voice was gone. My voice was so much worse yesterday than it was today, so I got a tea, Holly got a coffee, and Holly got me to the airport, got to the airport, everything was good, found out my flight was overbooked, and I was having a mild panic attack in Texas, because I had no idea how I'd be able to get home, and I'm like, oh, I guess all the profits I made are going to go to a hotel stay while I try to figure out my plane, but everything was fine. Got through. I actually, because of something, I got bumped up to first class. So did the lady next to me. And so we got like pretty nice seats, and we got to relax for my way home. And then when I got home, I got to spend some time with Anna and Ashley, Anna's sister-in-law, because they were house sitting for Cody and I, because Cody this weekend had to do something for his grandparents. So they were cat sitting, and then I got to hang out with them, talk about them, tell them everything I pretty much just told you guys. And wow, this video is almost an hour long. This is going to be fun to edit and render. Yay! But I wanted to show you guys. And yeah, I totally rate this con. I'd say a 9 out of 10. Like, not a perfect 10 out of 10. But because I still had a lot to learn. There's still a lot of things I need to do. And a couple of things that did kind of suck that they did not talk about. And this is a couple of the negatives I wanted to share. Was, well, one obviously was the airplane thing. That isn't the con's fault, but live and learn. But that sucked. That was an extra $100 I wasn't expecting to spend. We also had when we had to get the second badge last year, it was $60. This year it was $80 or $85, I believe, with with no telling. Like, they didn't tell us that the price had changed. And so that sucked. But it was also one of those, if I don't pay it, I can't get in. So you're kind of trapped to pay the stupid fee. So I paid the fee. And before people complain, there's usually always a fee like that. This is why I always say, something else I've learned is, while you have the 50 to 100 just on you for breaking change, I would say, people might say more, but I would say budget an extra $200 in just mystery / surprise fees, because we had a lot of those. Another thing too was, like, Holly had to run to the hardware store really quick and get screws for things. I don't know how much the screws were, but like that was an extra added bonus of stress. Another thing, this is a big thing. So a lot of people, it's another thing that's a staple now. If you're a con artist, you work at cons, you need a Square reader or an e-reader, some way to take digital money. It's just inevitable. If I did not have my Square reader, I probably would have made, no, I'm not even gonna say probably, just at the top of my head, I know I would have made $500 less than I actually made. And that was just off of my digital orders. But there are some people going around now, and there are some groups on Facebook going around showing people how to scam artists. And this is something else I want to warn people about, because this is something we learned was, I guess there's like a San Japan Artist Alley Facebook group or some kind of Facebook group. I don't really use Facebook that much anymore. Sorry in advance for the cuts. My voice is also dying again because I'm talking. But I mostly have my Facebook just to keep my name, so an extra account doesn't just pop up. But what was happening was, a lot of attendees would pay in card, buy something. They would end up waiting until they got home or to their hotel or later that night. They would call their bank, claim fraud, and they would get a refund after already having the items in their hand. So they stole. They stole from the artists. And what would happen is, because a lot of people might not know this, with Square readers, for instant transfer, it is a 1% fee. Yes, it is just 1%, but it is the cause of it. And a lot of people are like, well, most cons are on the weekend, so I'll just keep all of my money. I will keep all of my money, over, and I'll just do the free transfer on one business day, because it is still in their Square account. It is not in their bank account. So people, assholes, would get the products, get the prints, get the plush, get whatever they got, wait just long enough to where we're kind of like safe, and then take it back. To the point where there was one person that I guess posted publicly that on the first day of the con, they lost nearly $1,000 in profit because of chargebacks. And it wasn't just one person, it was a lot of people, and it was a plush artist. I'm not sure who. Again, I'm not part of that group, but it was what I was told. And then I had a couple of people, when I made the post on Instagram and Twitter, a couple people came out to me in DMs and said, this happened to my mom a year ago. This happened to me at a con. This happened. So this is a pretty big thing that I did not know was possible. So it sucks, but pretty much, guys, artists out there, if you have an e-reader, the second the con is done, as in done, and it's closed and we can pack up, do that instant transfer. Eat the 1% thing. I know some people are 50-50 of like, well, it's 1%, and other people are like, well, it's my money, because, that 1% is going to the company of Square. It's not going to anybody else. But would you rather lose 1% or, a lot more money? So, that's another thing. I know it's kind of a negative, but it's a big warning, because that wasn't, at least I didn't think that was happening last year. So, I'm nearly an hour in. This is going to be very, very, very fun to edit. But that was my San Japan journey, rating, enjoyment. I definitely am doing it again next year. And if for some reason I don't get a table, I'm still going to go, because it was fun just to see my friends, hang out, and do things around San Antonio. And I'm very happy to be home. I'm happy to be well rested. I'm also very happy that I thought in advance to record stuff so I can give my voice more time to heal. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy you guys enjoyed. And as always, guys, I will see you next time, but not with a bad voice. Bye.